For about 50 years, the story has run one direction. Paul was the Beatle who couldn't stand Yoko Ono, the one who froze her out, and the reason the whole thing curdled. But Paul told Rolling Stone in 1986 that the story starts somewhere nobody ever mentions. It starts with Yoko knocking on his door. Not John's door, but Paul's. This was 1966, before she and John had ever met. There was an avant-garde charity project floating around, something tied to the composer John Cage, and Yoko was collecting handwritten song lyrics from musicians to use in it. So she came to Paul, because Paul was the Beatle who actually went to galleries and read the underground press and knew who John Cage was. And here's the part Paul admits with a slight wince. He didn't want to give her anything. In his words, "I hate to tell you, but I really didn't want to give her any of my lyrics. Selfish or whatever, but I just didn't want to do it." So he did the polite brush off. He sent her down the hall to somebody else. So I said, "But there's a friend of mine who might want to help, my mate John." Yeah, my mate John. That is the entire hinge of Beatles history, delivered like a man passing off a cold caller. Yoko took the tip, went to John, and not long after they met properly at the Indica Gallery in London. And Paul, watching it happen, described it like weather. "I kind of put her onto John, and then they really hit it off. It was like a wildfire, John was certainly in love." Now, here's where it turns, because you would expect John to be grateful, but he wasn't really grateful. He was more nervous. "I'm a little insecurely in love," Paul said, "because he warned me off Yoko, sort of said, 'Look, no.'" John, who had just fallen for the woman Paul introduced him to, immediately pulled Paul aside and told him to stay away from her. Why? Because he knew his bandmate. "Because he knew I was a bit of a ladies' man," Paul said. "I liked the girls, no doubt about that." So let that sit in your head for a moment. The man history blames for hating Yoko is the man who handed her John's name. And the first thing John did with his new love was guard her against the guy who set them up. The great villain of the story was the matchmaker. He just never got the credit, because credit was never the point. He was trying to get rid of her, and he accidentally rewrote the rest of his own life. Paul opened the door, and John's first move was to lock it behind him.